And hello and good morning. Good afternoon. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv. BOLES.television. BOLES. A T and a V. So, boy, there's a lot to talk about today. If you're interested in politics and the future of a nation and the future of the world, wearing my Nebraska shirt. On Saturday, Nebraska plays their second game of the year against North Dakota. I don't believe it's North Dakota State, Southern North Dakota, Upper North Dakota, just regular old North Dakota. And the Huskers are supposed to win and win big. We'll see. Right? But if they win, then, we're the best team ever. We beat a little bitty team. Now we're back. Nebraska's back. We'll see. Overconfidence killed more than the cat. Hey, and some other news. The music you hear is from the Slipstream service. And we have discussed having not live music, but music during the live show. And is it worth it? Because you get a lot of dings and a lot of hits. And then you happen upon a certain playlist that seems to be not DMCA-able from the Twitch side or the YouTube side or the Facebook side. So I have, over the last 9 months, curated about 10 long-form songs via Slipstream. They have a catalog of 100,000 songs, but before, when I would just play any songs that they said was safe, I would get dinged. It was a big problem. And I've had that problem with Pretzel Rocks and Monster Cat Gold. They all provide music, and they all have these terrible situations where you play music that's safe to stream, and in reality, it's not safe at all. So I had this playlist on Slipstream. One of them was about 60 songs of various lengths. Some an hour, some 6 minutes, some 1 minute. And then I was getting dinged on some of those. So I said, well, let me just find out if a certain band is more likely than not to be safe. And I was given the confirmation, yes, it's okay. So I curated that particular performing group. And they had long-form songs, so I took all of their long-form songs that are at least an hour, made a new playlist. 10 hours of unique songs. Okay, that's more than enough. We usually do a couple of hours here, so theoretically every 5 days, you'd have new music. Today I was setting this up, and it used to say 10 tracks available. It's a strange sound, I don't know what that was. And now it says 2 tracks available. What happened to the other 8 tracks? Were they removed from the service? Which is always a big fear, because when things get moved or sold or songs, that's the problem with these streaming song licenses. You think you're safe, and today you are, and then tomorrow the song gets sold, a new corporation is formed, and suddenly everything that was in your public domain and free to use now is not. Now you can protect yourself by saying, if you have to go back in time, hey, at that time when I was using that song, I had a license, a commercial license, and here's the details of all of that. So is it worth having music on a live show? I don't know anymore. I'll probably write and ask what happened to this. Where did my other 8 songs go? But I'm not sure I want to know the answer. The real answer is just to stop using music on your show. That's the best protection against the future. Also got notification today that Discord now has their own sort of moderation bot that will watch out for nasty language and mean people and fake people. Do you want to help test the beta? I said sure. So we'll see how the moderation bot on Discord gets along with our Mr. Wick. But if one of them has to go, you would probably use the native Discord bot because that's built into the system, where Mr. Wick is more of an overlay. Also setting up the stream today, trying to add tags. They have a new tag system. So you come up with tags. One of them, war, is not an allowed tag, we learned last week. Twitch is not an allowed tag. And this morning I discovered that Alaska is now a banned tag on Twitch. I don't know why. Georgia is an allowed tag. But spelling out Alaska, they will not let you use it as a tag. I don't know why. Using the postal service shortening of AK, that is allowed. And you can see it as part of this live stream description, if you're looking at the tags. So it's madness. And it's only 9:12 in the morning on the East Coast. But there was a lot more madness that happened overnight. But here is the other really weird thing that happened to me yesterday. You know, you have a lot of different accounts on Twitch that you use for moderation or use to set up a bot, or you use to test to see if you can see your stream working or not. And I received this email for my BowlsBot account. This is from Twitch. Hey, BowlsBot. If you like Bowls TV, you'll love, and then they're recommending 3 other streamers. And the first one on the list is Amaranth. Now, we've talked about Amaranth before. And now she makes a lot of money a year, millions of dollars streaming on Twitch. She's hypersexual. She has a swimming pool or a hot tub in her living room. She wears bikinis. She does weird things, sexually suggestive things with her microphone. My instinct is that if you're a fan of Bowls TV, you probably would not find a lot of value in following Amaranth. These two, never heard of them, don't know them. I'm sure they're wonderful, nice people. Amaranth, it doesn't make sense. But who am I and what am I to say about anything? The world is a very strange and inequitable place. I can't use an Alaska tag, but my viewers would love, just love, to watch Amaranth. Okay. Hey, what else is in the news? My new best friend, Mary Peltola. Everyone's learning how to say her name. I'm sure there are a lot of people who want to say pelota, ball, but that's not it. It's Peltola. And this is her tweet from yesterday. It's a good day. The at-large Alaska special election results, final rank. In ranked voting that we talked about yesterday, Peltola, 51.5%. Sarah Palin, 48.5%. Wow. Now that's big, fantastic news, because I believe this is the first member of Congress from Alaska who is a Democrat. Meaning that when the Republicans voted, they did not vote for Sarah Palin, and they also did not use ranked voting to help her win. So it's new. It's a flipped seat, which is very interesting, right? And Mary thanks all Alaskans who put their faith in me as the first woman in Alaska's history to represent our state in the House of Representatives. Tonight we've shown we can win as a campaign that is pro-choice, pro-fish, pro-worker. I thought that said pro-water. Worker. And pro-Alaska. So, and here she is again. When people forget your name, 10 hours ago. Mary Peltola. I think it's just delightful. And she's a trending, as they say, on the Twitch, on the Twitter. Mary Peltola, a former state representative, will be the first Alaska Native. Yeah. In Congress after she won a special election that included Republican candidates Nick Begich and former governor and quitter Sarah Palin. Peltola will finish the remaining few months of the term of Representative Don Young, who died in March. This is just how she's trending. She won the election. There's that wonderful face. She looks so happy. Oh, and this is great. Democrat Mary Peltola won a special election for Alaska's only U.S. House seat on Wednesday. Peltola, who is Yupik, will become the first Alaska Native to serve in the House and the first woman to hold the seat. That's fabulous. And she did it the old-fashioned way. She earned it. Mrs. Palin, I guess, coming in to her campaign quarters after her loss was announced. I guess still being chippy and happy and herpy. I don't know. Here's a look at how the day unfolded. Yesterday, I don't know who's voting yes or no, but obviously yes won. And there's Palin. It's a historic day in Alaska. You can't type Alaska as a tag, though, not on Twitch, because it's not allowed. But you can type AK and that will be accepted. Maybe Alaska's some kind of weird gamer thing. I don't know. And even weirder and more interesting is this debate in Georgia. Stacey Abrams running for governor. She's a little behind against Brian Kemp, who is the current governor. And this is their bit of their debate. And since this is from PBS, it should be safe to use and watch. And so I will play this for you. Turn off my microphone so the closed captions will clear and everyone can enjoy this very interesting and strange escape.
The question is, why are you encouraging people to break the law for you in this election?
Mr. Kemp, you are very aware that I know the laws of Georgia when it comes to voting. In fact, I am one of the foremost experts in the state on expansion of voting rights. And I have never in my life asked for anyone who is not legally eligible to vote to be able to cast a ballot. What I've asked for is that you allow those who are legally eligible to vote to allow them to cast their ballots. And in fact, we took you to court in 2016, and a federal judge said that you illegally canceled 34,000 registrations. You used the exact same system, the exact match system that is under dispute right now. Now, I realize that in the next response, you're going to say that it's a function of my organization because your tendency is to blame everyone else for the mistakes that you make. My responsibility as a leader is to see a problem and try to solve it. When I saw that we had 800,000 unregistered people of color in the state of Georgia, I started an organization that has reached into every county and increased those registrations. When I saw that people were being unlawfully denied the right to vote, I I worked to make certain that we held you accountable. And as the next governor of Georgia, I will continue to do my job to make certain that every legally eligible vote that gets cast gets counted.
Ms. Abrams, thank you.
That's a pretty big ouch. He tried to get her, he couldn't touch her. Some of the comments, anybody else notice the condescending smirk on his face? It's triggering because as a woman, I can't even count the times in my life that I've encountered that exact face from men who've had their egos bruised. Another person says, I totally understand. I've seen it used to diminish women as well, and it incenses me. The silver lining is he's scared. That smirk told me he feels the need to try and diminish her words because he's got nothing to say in response. It failed utterly. She punished him hard. What are the numbers for the governor's race? Georgia. The last I heard, Stacey was behind big. It's going to be a hard thing for her. What are the polls? Let's see, I need polls for Georgia. The Georgia polls. Who's ahead in the governor's race? Yeah, see, it's tough. Kemp is up 5. That's big. 5 is going to be very difficult to beat. 50 to 49 to 44. The trend is since March. Hasn't changed much. See if she can come out of this. I hope she can. She'd be great. So what else is in the news? Oh boy, here you go. On the show the other day, we had a conversation about Dr. Oz, and we had a person here who was defending Dr. Oz and saying what a great curriculum vitae he has and how intelligent he is and how genius he is. And it was really an insult to anyone who's paying attention to this race that's going on in Pennsylvania. Here's the title of the article from the news in Pennsylvania. Fetterman rejects Dr. Oz's offer to hold the first debate. Calls lists of concessions insulting. So, Dr. Oz behind, trying to force a debate with John Fetterman. And Fetterman, why would he debate him if he doesn't have to? So, Dr. Oz, I guess, knows that and decided to do what many MAGA Republicans do, is to get down and dirty and insult John Fetterman personally. John Fetterman, Democratic nominee for an open seat in Pennsylvania, rejected Mehmet Oz's offer to hold their first debate next week, saying the GOP candidate's campaign thinks it's funny to mock his recovery from a stroke. John Fetterman had a stroke. I'm eager to put my record and my values up against Dr. Oz any day of the week, says Fetterman. As I recover from this stroke and improve my auditory processing and speech, I look forward to continuing to meet with the people of Pennsylvania. Fetterman added that a list of debate concessions from Oz's campaign team earlier in the day made it abundantly clear that they think it is funny to mock a stroke survivor. The Oz campaign said it would pay for any additional medical personnel Fetterman might need to have on standby, in addition to permitting him bathroom breaks and allowing him to have all of his notes on hand, along with an earpiece to obtain answers from his staff. So I guess that's what John Fetterman has to put up with. Dr. Oz and his genius schooling doesn't mean he isn't a nasty person. Character matters, interpretation matters. To some people, the only thing that matters is where they've gone to school and what they've accomplished in their lives. And for the rest of us, we're hoping for good, functional, kind human beings with a proper moral soul. And on that note, in allegiance with John Fetterman and to spite Dr. Oz and all of his fans, sycophants, we are taking our very first blood pressure break of the day. Returning in a moment. And we're back from break. This is Bowles.tv, BOLES.tv. I'm David Bowles. It's Bowles.television. So before we move on to our next topic, we are going to finish off the acclaimed Dr. Oz. He was making fun of John Fetterman and his stroke. And here's an article that appeared yesterday. Mehmet Oz recently flip-flopped to an extreme abortion stance. Thanks to the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision, abortion has become a major issue in the 20 and 22 midterms, and a very real danger to Republicans on the wrong side of the nation's pro-choice majority. But some of these same Republicans are cross-pressured due to the right-to-life movements powerful in the GOP politics. And I read the other day that people do not like this idea of right to life, meaning that they should just call themselves anti-abortion. Right to life meaning what? So, back in 2019, Dr. Oz said that while he wouldn't want anyone in his family to get an abortion, he was in favor of keeping Roe versus Wade because he'd seen women impacted by coat hanger events. That's the way you used to perform an abortion, a self-abortion, many years ago, 50 years ago, before the rise of Roe. Women would untangle a coat hanger and put one end inside, screw it around to do a self-abortion. That's what that means. Coat hanger events, and didn't want to force his views on others. Well, now, Dr. Oz describes himself as pro-life, with the three usual exceptions, especially the health of the mother, but incest and rape as well. Isn't that wonderful of them? But in a recording from May, published this week by the Daily Beast, the former cardiothoracic surgeon appears to take a much more extreme stance while trying to rationalize his previous opposition to heartbeat bills. The Daily Beast has obtained audio from a campaign event this May where Oz staked out his most extreme position yet, telling voters he believes abortion at any stage of development is still murder, including from the moment of conception. I do believe life starts at conception, Dr. Oz said, and I've said that multiple times, Dr. Oz said during the event. If life starts at conception, Dr. Oz said, why do you care what age the heart starts beating at? Dr. Oz continues, it's still murder if you were to terminate a child, whether their heart's beating or not. If your heart's not beating, it's not murder, it's death. Dr. Oz was answering an attendee who wondered how Oz could square his current anti-abortion stance with his statements from 2019, specifically that the heart's not beating 6 weeks into a pregnancy. Well, at that time, I guess, Dr. Oz was battling hardcore anti-abortion candidates David McCormick and Kathy Barnett for the GOP nomination. So he decided to claim that his problem with heartbeat laws is that they aren't radical enough. Murder is murder, right? And moreover, why try to legislate the hazy heartbeat benchmarks when you could just ban all abortions from the moment of conception? Just being logical about it, Dr. Oz said in May, if you think that the moment of conception you've got a life, then why would you even wait 6 weeks? Right? Then, an in vitro fertilized egg is still a life. It's not clear where Dr. Oz stands on abortion laws that might effectively also ban in vitro fertilization. According to his most recent financial disclosure, Oz and his wife hold between $1.5 and $6 million of shares in Prelude Fertility, part of the largest in vitro fertility network in these United States. And it's currently looking for a buyer. It's hard to find a voter-friendly position on this red-hot abortion issue. If anything other than a total ban from the moment of conception appears to either violate your conscience or makes you look like a hypocrite. Dr. Oz. Oh my. And in that spirit, here is an article from the New England Journal of Medicine. What Dobbs, the turnover of abortion by the Supreme Court. What no abortion means for patients with breast cancer. And Dr. Oz leads us right into this conversation. Written by a doctor. Patients have to make difficult choices about whether to continue working through chemotherapy if they have breast cancer, how much time to take off while recovering from surgery, and how to manage the impact cancer care will have on everything from their personal finances to their sex lives. They also have to think about the potential repercussions for their existing children and future fertility. Breast cancer is the most common type of cancer among women younger than 45 years of age, affecting 27,000 women in the U.S. every year. Approximately 4% of these young women's breast cancers are diagnosed early in pregnancy, and the incidence is increasing. Treatment of breast cancer involves both local and systemic interventions, aiming to remove existing tumor and avert recurrence and metastases. Historically, abortion was recommended for all women with breast cancer, since the toxic effects associated with treatment were deemed incompatible with a healthy pregnancy. It makes sense, right? But now what do? The Supreme Court said you can't abort if you have breast cancer and you're taking chemotherapy. So now what do? For some patients, therefore, abortion is most likely the best option. Under Dobbs, some U.S. patients will be forced to carry a high-risk pregnancy and will have limited choices for treating their cancer. Making this compromise could result in worse oncologic outcomes and a greater risk of death for these patients, risks that apply to pregnant patients with any type of cancer. Dr. Oz, murder, the moment of conception. You have breast cancer, well, too bad for you. The baby lives. Now, if you happen to die of breast cancer and we can't save the baby, well, then I guess technically you would be the murderer of your own child for getting breast cancer. Surgery is a necessary component of successful curative treatment of breast cancer. Patients who are pregnant while undergoing surgery face additional risks. Large studies have shown that non-obstetric cancer surgery in patients is associated with small but real increases in the risks of stillbirth, preterm delivery, and the need for cesarean section. Most patients with breast cancer have the option of breast conservation, a smaller surgery with radiation, rather than a complete mastectomy with or without reconstruction. But many targeted systemic therapies for breast cancer are explicitly contraindicated in pregnancy, which leaves traditional chemotherapy as the only option for many pregnant patients. Tamoxifen, for example, targets hormone receptor-positive breast cancer, the most common subtype, but exposure to tamoxifen during pregnancy is associated with higher rates of fetal anomalies, the deformation of the baby. The medications that target the more aggressive human epidural growth factor receptor 2 positive subtype of breast cancers and have revolutionized the treatment of these cancers are also contraindicated in pregnancy and are associated with serious adverse effects for the fetus. Some chemotherapies are routinely used in pregnancy because they are considered to pose an acceptable risk to the developing fetus, but they are associated with low birth rate, stillbirth, or premature labor. Forcing a patient with breast cancer to carry a pregnancy to term means exposing the fetus to chemotherapy and delaying treatment with appropriate targeted therapies, inherently restricting the patients, the mothers, and physicians to a single pathway. Even if termination of the pregnancy would permit the pursuit of better therapeutic options in a particular case. Moreover, breast cancer is not the only type of cancer that can affect pregnant patients. Similar difficult choices are necessary in treating pregnant patients with any cancer or a similar diagnosis. Termination of a pregnancy in a patient with breast cancer is not a recommendation or a decision made easily. As with many other decisions in cancer care, the process of informed consent involves weighing the risks and benefits of any given path. Then the patient and the healthcare team collaboratively make decisions on the basis of the patient's beliefs, values, and priorities. New restrictions on reproductive choices will have adverse effects across the spectrum of medical care and should be of concern to any physician who has a patient who could become, or is pregnant. Now that's a tough article to read because it lays you out. It lays you out. It lays out the argument that you just can't have one thing for every single person. You can't have the government interfering in private conversations between a woman, a mother, and her husband, and her family, and her doctor, and her other support staff. It's not for the government to decide. And you have these radical right-wing MAGA people who are paranoid about the government and the deep state, and yet they want the deep state government rooting around inside women's bodies and making decisions for them based on religious fanaticism. Not facts, not science. Religious Christo fanaticism. And then here you go, you have this mainstream person, Dr. Oz, right there. Murder from the time of conception. Dr. Oz, the celebrated heart surgeon, the teacher, the book writer, the Oprah discovery. He wants to decide when life begins. Now, speaking of living, our friend Alexander in Ukraine has been in touch. Fantastic. I want to hear from him. And he's been posting some images and some photographs. He said he's been called up to duty. I don't know when or he's going to the front. But he said last week he got notified he was getting papers. I have asked him when he's going to the front, and he's not telling me. So that tells me he probably doesn't know. He may be getting some pushback from his family because he has permission from the government to leave because he has minor children. So he can accompany them to a different country to get out of the way of the bombs. And that was the plan for a while. And then things change and life modifies. And now Alexander is saying when he goes to fight, he's a jeweler by trade. When he goes to pick up a gun and fight, his family will stay. They will not leave. His elderly parents, his wife, his 4 children, 3 of them minor children, they will all stay while he leaves. Risky, not our life, not our lives. So he sent me this yesterday on our Discord server. A thermal monocular. And he's posted, images of fruit, bread, tampons, hand wipes, everything you need to live a life as a soldier on the front. He collects money, buys this stuff, and sends it to the front. They also have a car. They have a new truck that they have discovered that they're using, that they're sending. I'll show you that in a minute. But this is his latest purchase. And I must say that I love it. Let me see if I can get the information about it. I think it's in a different place. But this is I think this is €1,000 thermal monocular where you can look through it and I guess see the enemy at night and you know where to shoot them. And a rich donor bought this, donated it to the troops, and Alexander is taking it to the front line. So he's very excited about this. And who can blame him? So here's part of our conversation, if I can bring this up properly, on Discord. So yesterday he sent me this picture and this video, and he says, "Good day to you. Sorry, really bursting." He uses a software translator from Ukraine to American English. Sorry, really bursting. I think it means he's really busy. And soon, at the school, his youngest child will go to first grade. In this video, we present the diploma to the director of the school. So you can see they're still having school in Ukraine, which is terrific. They're trying to make life normal and not terrible. In this video, we present the diploma to the director of the school, which organized people who make camouflage nets. Isn't that great? I just think it's terrific. So here's the first picture. I can make it a little bit bigger for you. I believe this is the person in charge of the school. This is the gift that they are giving, the diploma they are giving. And as you can see, they're in a theater, which I just love. In Mariupol, they took shelter in a theater. And this is Alexander right here. So that's the photograph. And now this is the video of that event that I will share with you now, after I let the captions clear. Now, that was lovely. Diploma, flowers. The sound was a little off because they're far away and it was just on a camera, but you could hear the applause. You could tell there were people there. They are trying to live an appropriate and beautiful life. And we are with Ukraine all the way. Now, let me see if I can find his other updates because they're very interesting. Here's his truck. He posted this. This is his monocular that he shared with us yesterday. This is in our Discord server. Here's the link. We have a Ukraine section where Alexander posts updates. He says to us, these days I get home only in the evening, but I'm insanely happy. In the photo, thermal imaging camera worth €1,000. Such thanks to a sponsor we bought, and we'll take it to the front line. And as soon as we go to get a car for the soldiers, there are no words to describe these feelings. I will say one thing: when we are together, we are a force that can do much. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to our heroes. May God bless you, everyone who reads these words. Peace, happiness, and mutual understanding. And he also posted this. Commander of the 1st Battalion of the regiment, after 100 days of being held captive in Russia. This is what he looked like at the start of the war. This is what he looks like now. So the Russians are starving him. Unfortunately, in the 21st century, we see things that we cannot understand and accept. Just this attack is evil in its purest form. We have no right to lose. Thank you for your support. And here's a picture of the truck. Now there is our offensive and the return of our territories, which is good, but there are a lot of wounded, and accordingly we have 3 trips a week going back and forth from the front to where they are in safety. Thank you for being there and supporting us. Soon I'll show you how this car will go to the guys. So this is they had a car a couple of weeks ago. Now they have this truck that has been painted green. So that is what is happening in Ukraine. It's awful and it's terrifying. And unfortunate, it is now part of the world in which we spin. And with that, we're taking our next break. Back in a moment. And we are back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv. Yes, it's BOLES.television. BOLES.tv. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, I've had a lot of conversation today about politics and balloting and Dr. Oz, John Fetterman, abortion, and cancer. And now what about abortion in Michigan? Well, this'll knock you in the head too. Our good friend Kevin Drum of Jabberwocking wrote this article yesterday. Michigan Republicans refuse. I'm reloading this. Michigan Republicans refuse to approve abortion initiatives because they don't feel like it. Now, this seems like a silly article, but this is the fall of democracy. And this is what these mainstream MAGA Republicans want to have happen in future elections. They don't want the people to decide. They want the conservative legislatures to decide who wins an election. The good people of Michigan recently gathered a huge number of signatures to put an abortion rights measure on the November ballot. The Bureau of Elections examined the petitions and found that a vast majority of signatures were valid. So the citizens have spoken. They duly recommended it to be put on the ballot. But wait. The Board of State Canvassers has final say, and its Republican members voted against allowing it on the ballot. The board's GOP members voted against approving the measures for the ballot after the anti-abortion group campaigning against the amendment, Citizens to Support Michigan Women and Children, argued that spacing and formatting errors in the text circulated to voters for their signatures rendered the effort invalid. And Kevin writes, what? Spacing and formatting issues? Is this a deliberate joke? An explicit F you, we just don't want it on the ballot? Well, here is the entire text as it appears. Kevin goes on to say, it's easy to see what happened here. The text is right justified, and the word processing program did a lousy job of it. Because of this, there are a few passages where the spacing between words is so small that it's hardly visible. Nonetheless, Kevin writes, it's easy to read, and the text is clear. But this is what things have come to. The Republican board members are indeed explicitly saying, F you, we don't want it on the ballot, like in Kansas. So now it's on to the Michigan Supreme Court. And the best part about these articles are the comments. One person says the dissent of the Republican Party writ large is nearly in its completion. They have simply chosen to eliminate all elements of democracy from any part of the government that they control. And that is not even strange. It's what they want. It's what they're doing, they've told us. Another person says, +1, Missouri Medicaid expansion, +1, Arkansas minimum wage increase, +1, Florida felon reenfranchisement. Another person says, for democracy, for Republicans, a democracy is a bug, not a feature. Another says, it's the kind of pedantica I would expect from LARP ASS nerds on a high school debate team. The fact it plays with the white working class dum-dums who were the first to bully the S out of the debate team, Gilbertarians who grew up to make these arguments in actual halls of power, is terribly ironic. Is there any recourse to countermand the GQP board members' obviously foul play? Or would any court take up that challenge? Just say, LOL, nice try, libs. But as we know from the case of Dan Rather versus Air National Guard, checking the kerning is the most important precept, under which our Republican form of government was founded. Is there something weird going on? I see things flashing. I guess it's all in my mind. And the Dan Rather thing was big. It was about draft status and the second Bush and showing that he got a special exemption, and Dan Rather reported it on the CBS Evening News, and it turns out that it was a fake. The Republicans had faked it to fake out Dan Rather, destroy his reputation, and the way they figured out that it was fake is because at the time, it wouldn't have been typed with that special font and kerning. It would have been typed with a standard typewriter, and the fake was done on a computer and not on a typewriter. So, Dan Rather got slapped in the face, rightfully so. It was bad reporting and a bad decision, and it put Bush in the White House. Now, here's another very interesting article. The Sins of the High Court's Supreme Catholics. And this is all back to our topic of the day, which is spun around in politics. From breast cancer to Dr. Oz to John Fetterman to Michigan to the New England Journal of Medicine. And now we finish with his excellent piece by James Carroll in the New Yorker, all about what is going on with women's choice over what happens to their bodies. Now, 5 Catholic justices on the Supreme Court are reversing the church's reversal. Neil Gorsuch, who is now an Episcopalian but was raised and educated as a Catholic, joined his 5 colleagues in overturning Roe v. Wade. The reforms, set in motion by the council, composed of more than 2,000 Catholic bishops who met in St. Peter's Basilica in 4 sessions between 1962 and 1965 to upend sacrosanct doctrines and traditions, ranging from the language used in Mass to the idea of, quote, no salvation outside of the church, unquote, to the repudiation of the ancient anti-Semitic Christ killer slander. An ultra-conservative blowback then ensued because of that council meeting, defining the papacies of Paul VI, John Paul I, II, and Benedict XVI, and it proved to be obsessed, above all, with issues related to sexuality in the place of women. In 1963, Pope Paul VI made an extraordinary intervention in the proceedings by forbidding the council from taking on the question of contraception. Paul's dictum signaled what was to come when, in 1968, he defied a consensus that was emerging among Catholics, even among the bishops, to accept birth control, and formally condemned birth control, in his encyclical Humanae Vitae, of human life. Cardinal Leo Joseph Swenis of Belgium protested the Pope's intervention by rising in St. Peter's and saying, I beg you, my brother bishops, let us avoid a new Galileo affair. One is enough for the church. But a new Galileo affair is what the church got. This one, though, is about the relationship not of earth to the sun, but of women to men. Over the last several decades, the church hierarchy effectively turned the female body into a bulwark against the charges that the Vatican II generation had embraced. Traditional ways of reading the Genesis story posed an immediate obstacle to any substantial overturning of assumptions about human origins. But with Darwin as a starting point, many religious believers, including Catholics, proved capable of viewing Genesis and its 7-day creation calendar as a metaphor, and of saying that God's creative act had, in fact, unfolded across many eons. Michelangelo's image of God's finger touching atoms, endowing the creature with the instantaneous gift of human life, seemed fixed in the Western consciousness. Originalism is a legal philosophy of stasis which reifies a historical moment. The reduction of a dynamic, metamorphosing conceptus into a single abstract entity, the unborn, denies both time and change, and that denial has led to the legal, medical, economic, and personal calamities facing a post-Dobbs world with women experiencing the brunt of the threat. The forbidden fruit was the pleasure that the first couple took in sexual arousal. From then on, the sanctified Catholic imagination was radically corrupted by fear and of contempt for autonomous female sexuality. The Church's unfettered campaign against women, elevating virginity, requiring female subservience in marriage and at the altar, restricting women's ability to control their own bodies, was launched. Now, that philosophy has been joined by the Supreme Court of the United States Catholic majority. The mixing of religion and politics is not going to be good for the believer or the disbeliever, and it's bad for all functioning people. Religious worldviews are implemented and forced upon the people from what is supposed to be an intellectual, scientific Supreme Court. And going on with the madness, Trump did not declassify everything. Him doing that is barred by the Nixon tapes decision. Fascinating article from a very interesting attorney who was part of the Nixon fiasco. Since August 8, Trump and his lawyers and Fox News have reportedly incanted the refrain that there can be no crime because Trump declassified everything anyway. As one Fox legal commenter asserted, if Trump declassified them as he insists, then the statute involving the retention of defense information has no relevance. The problem with this alternate defense is that it both legally is inaccurate because the relevant statutes apply whether or not information is really classified, and it actually is foreclosed by a previous Supreme Court decision involving the former President Richard Nixon, whom Trump has now eclipsed as a scofflaw. Even the New York Times, which we have discussed here before, yesterday, erroneously stated that there is no Supreme Court precedent that would limit a president's power to declassify any documents he chooses to release. The Times notes that, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, the President is the ultimate classifying authority. And it is inferred by the New York Times that he may declassify anything at any time. Well, maybe not true. The crucial flaw in that analysis is that, like every other presidential power, the law may regulate the circumstance in which that power may be exercised, especially when the presidency itself has accepted these constraints. That is the situation with the process for declassifying state secrets, even by El Presidente. A 1994 amendment to the National Security Act directed that the president shall, by executive order or regulation, establish procedures to govern access to classified information, which shall be binding upon all departments, agencies, and offices of the executive branch of government. Of crucial importance, the Supreme Court has held that restrictions like these were effective to prevent a president from lawfully and effectively doing what Trump now purports to have done. In the Nixon tapes case, which I, the author, argued many years ago, the Supreme Court unanimously ruled that a president is bound by otherwise valid regulations so long as they remain in force. As all of the declassification restrictions did throughout the Trump presidency. Nixon tried to block the Watergate special prosecutor from pursuing evidence of the president's custody, the secret White House tape recordings Nixon had, arguing that the prosecutor, as the president's subordinate in the executive branch, had to defer to the president's constitutional supremacy as chief executive. Slick. And it's being used all over again. From Mar-a-Lago. The court also rebuffed the contention that the president's ultimate control over the regulations and the attorney general who issued them undercut their binding effect on the president. It is theoretically possible for the attorney general to amend or revoke the regulation defining the special prosecutor's authority, but he has not done so. So long as this regulation remains in force in the executive branch, including the president there, is bound by it, and indeed the United States, as the sovereign composed of three branches, is bound to respect and enforce that decision. Trump has never claimed that he revoked or amended the applicable 2009 executive order governing the declassification process, or directed the modification of any of the regulations issued under that presidential order, which bind the entire executive branch, including him, in controlling the declassification process. Recognizing the principles at stake, a federal appeals court held in 2020 that a clumsy public reference by Trump to a secret program had not accidentally or effectively declassified the information. Declassification cannot occur unless designated officials follow specified procedures. Because declassification, even by a president, must follow established procedures. Therefore, Attorney General Garland and the rest of the country can ignore Trump's smokescreen about whether he declassified the Mar-a-Lago documents. He did not, because he could not. Thus, Garland need decide only whether threats of violence will cow him into giving Trump another pass. And on that lovely and delicious high note, we take our final blood pressure break of the day, returning in a moment. And we are back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles TV. BOLES.TV. BOLES.television. Hey, we are here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. So it's been a heavy day, wild day, lots of thoughts and reading day. And so it's that time of day. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. It's time to play some non-Bobby Fischer chess with your friend and mine, Star. No, it's not Ringo Starr. It's me, David Bowles of Bowles.TV. And yes, we're terrible at chess, as we proved without a doubt yesterday. And as we're probably going to prove again today, because today looks a little difficult. This is our chessable trainer that terrorizes us every day. We have 7 alerts since yesterday, which I don't know why. Oh, look at this. All courses are 50% off. Beat the King's Indian Defense. The new Ruy Lopez. You doubled your wager by keeping a streak of 714. New visualization. All community courses. Meow, meow. Mark all as well. Let's go here. Let's do this first. We're double or nothing our bet that we're going to stay active as human beings on Chessable. Now I have to go back here. Go to my courses. Where are my courses? Oh, did I mess this up, my courses? How do I find my course? Oh no, what have I done? Difficult moves, pro membership, create a course, careers, puzzle. Oh boy, home. Maybe. Deadly checkmates. 1001 of them. We're studying chapter 13. Mate involving discovered or double check. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Discovered check is when you move a piece, putting the opposing king in check. A double check is moving a piece, and bing bong, you have 2 checks on a king. I'm not very good at this chapter, I admit. Now, this is going to be tough, because most of what we've been doing, because this is a new chapter, have been in 2 moves. I tend not to do well with 2 moves. So today we're going to test that theory, because look over here. Today I have my puzzle is 4 moves. And that is a lot. Because that means I have to think like 15 steps ahead. And I'm not clicking on this because the second I click on it, my timer starts. See here, I'm playing black. The object of my desire. Oh, here's my lovely queen and my bishop and my rook. Believe that those are going to be my main assets. So I think my first move is probably going to be here to put the king in check. It's not really a revealed check, but they like you using your queen. They like you to lose your queen. It's kind of a big joke in the chess world. And king can't take because the bishop is protecting. So I'm going to move the queen. That's the right move. This is not going well. Out of 4 steps, I've missed the first one. So now they're going to make me make the right move. So I have to move the bishop here. Now, if they had let me move my queen there, now where do you go? I guess I could go here, but then the king would take the bishop. I could go here, with the king in check this way, but then queen will take. None of this is looking great. Oh! That's what happens when you take too long. It makes the move for you, and then it's going to make me make the move. So now I have to make the move. So I'm already at 0 on this puzzle. Now this is where we started. Why can't I just go here and put the king in check? That's what I wanted to do at the very beginning. You saw it. Oh, I don't like this puzzle. This is what they call an unfair puzzle. So now I would move here. 4 moves, 1 variation. Accuracy 50%. Not great. I didn't like that puzzle at all. I think I could have done better if they let me make my first move. Whatever. Hey! It's time for the daily puzzle. 1st of September. End game grind. Now, that doesn't sound very fun. That sounds to me that this is going to be an end game puzzle, yes, duh, and a grind. Now, a grind means you're going to be moving a lot of pieces a lot of times, which also means, for me, I'm going to be making a lot of errors. But they have hints. So it's going to be a grind. Okay. We will try to do better. I'm black. Okay, black to move. So, black to move. So I'm going after this king. My pieces in the battle are 2 rooks. Oh, all this is lined up. This is the shotgun lined up. That looks very interesting to me, I have to admit. But endgames are usually about pawns, which makes me think that these are going to be involved in some way as well. But these are good, sort of good pawn chains. So I guess I'm just going to move this here. That's not the right move. Ah. Okay. Queen sacrifice. Of course. Of course, it's queen sacrifice. If I stop talking, I do well. When I try to overthink it by explaining it to you, I don't do well. So I feel good about that puzzle. I don't know if I should, but at least we got it done. We'll do one more of these to see if I can redeem myself. White to play. I think this is a 2-step puzzle, or is it a 3-step puzzle? Okay, so white to play, object of my desire. My implements of war are here. So it's got to be here to here, right? Who knows with these games? I will try. Yes. Yes! Now what? That's what it is, protected by the pawn. I'm guessing. Thank you. I'm going to win. I'm going to get 100% finally. Then rook here. Puts the king in check, right? King can't take. King can't take. Because protected by the bishop. King can't move here. Bishop. King can't move here because of the pawn. Fabulous. Oh, I feel so much better. this is a good way to end the day. Now I just have to make the move and win. Thank you. 3 new moves, 100 of percentages. I gained 90 stars. For me, terrific. Exit. Well, what a show we've had today. We've had highs, we've had lows, we've had hellos, we've had a lot of goodbyes. If you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to email me, david@bowles.tv. If you'd like to follow, super follow, that's where all the fun is on Twitter. It's @DavidBowles. On Facebook, we're BOLES. On Instagram, Bowles Books. TikTok, Bowles TV. And if you want to join our Discord server, you can go right here, click on it now, and here's the rest of our social network information. I hope you have a wonderful day, a bright sunshine in your heart, stars in your eyes, and moonbeams on your feet. And I hope you have a good nap and a good sleep, and when ye shall awaken, I hope that your soul is filled with joy and 90 stars, indicating 100% success. It's hard to find. I'll see you again soon.